Good morning, everybody. Had a great dinner last night, actually, with an uncle of mine who happens to be about half an hour from me and wanted to come see me before he left town. So we went to get dinner with him and his now wife and had great food, great time. And I just greatly appreciate the fact that my family wants to see me and the fact that I have a great family. And this is a message of gratitude for me having a great family because it is one of those things that I have taken for granted for a long time. I think as we're growing up, especially as we're children, we don't realize how different everyone's family dynamics are. And there is no perfect family. I'm convinced of it. We all have our quirks. We all have our arguments. We all have those family members that we sort of question whether or not they're related by blood or how they're related. And we all have incredible experiences, or we hope to. We also have not so incredible experiences. But when you have no grounds on what to compare that to, or you're too young to understand that, you have the opportunity as you're growing up, as you're getting older, to miss seeing that. And now that I am the age that I am, I do look at things differently. I look at things past, oh, what do we do together as a family, and what vacations do we go on, and what experiences do we have together. Those are extremely important things. But what I do look at is, how do we communicate? What is the level of emotional intelligence in the way that we treat each other in respect to each other's feelings, in respect to social situations, how we're going through things in life, how we can support each other, how we can uplift each other, how parents are speaking to their children, and how siblings are speaking to their other siblings, which I take a higher level of responsibility to, and by no means have been perfect at, but I am the oldest of three siblings. And so it's important that I communicate properly with my younger siblings, especially as we get older. And a lot of these realizations for me have come from being out of the house, but also with my youngest sibling being over 18 years old and out of the house. And you're really shown where people stand with their family once they have their independence and once they have their own time and can make their own decisions. That's when it really shows what the relationships are, what the dynamic is, and what's going on, and how you come together. The same applies for friendships. I've spoken to friends of mine that I've known since middle school, since high school, since college, even in brief periods of time after school. But the commonality is that once the convenience of the relationship is taken out of the equation, how strong are you and how good are you in maintaining those relationships? And I do believe that takes more work, more skill set, more grace in dealing with people. And these are things that people, in my opinion, are not talking about. Maybe there's authors talking about it on a corporate level, but when it comes to relationships with family members, when it comes to relationships with your friendships, there is an intentionality that has to go there. And that is beyond, hey, when can we see each other next? It is all the things that I mentioned from an emotional standpoint and from a supportive standpoint that matter. And you cannot force anybody to want to be around you. You cannot force anyone to want to stay in touch with you. And everyone has their reasons for that. Some of them are valid. Some of them are things that we may feel that someone should be able to get over, but them in their mind and their processing, they can't. And so we have to respect that person for where they are. But overall, there is an intentionality and there is a balance. And that is what life has shown me recently. And so for those reasons, I am incredibly grateful that I have a family that is still very intentional about getting together. I personally see my parents pretty often. It's changed now that I've moved, but I plan to see my mom at least every 6 to 8 weeks. Same thing with my dad. He's actually coming down this weekend since he was missed Father's Day. He was working during that period of time. So we're going to see each other then, since I'm a much closer drive. And then I have my family who is in the Northeast, and I'll be able to see them a lot more often and just plan trips to be there and have little cousins there that I want to see grow up and be a part of their lives. And then still seeing my family that's back home as well, because my brother and mother are there, and making sure that I'm intentional spending time in those areas. All of these things come into mind, but I have to take it on myself. I take the responsibility of doing that. So the message is a message, number one, of be grateful for what you have, and be grateful and realize what you have that others may not have, because those are the things, in my opinion, that keep us grounded, that keep us centered, and keep us thankful. But the other side of the message is, even when that is the case, once life situations and life scenarios change, never forget that intentionality is the key to those relationships continuing and continuing in a healthy way. So hope this message helps. I believe family is so important, and I know not everyone is blessed with that opportunity, but I believe we can have chosen families, which oftentimes is our friendships and sometimes even the relationship that we have with their families after certain periods of time or in certain phases of life. And so I encourage you to foster those relationships, create a chosen family if your biological family doesn't have that same feel and same opportunity, because I know that there's people out there who want that feeling. It's part of our human nature. It's part of our makeup and design. And it's ultimately super important and one of the most fulfilling parts in this one life that we do have. So go have a great day. Go create intentional relationships and maintain them. And we'll talk soon.